One of the biggest things I can't believe we didn't hit on in the first interview
Oh, I know where you're going.
is this amazing story
Oh boy.
of saving your mom from a burning house and tearing a tree out by its roots. Take us back to the beginning of this story and set it up for us.
Well, hold, before we go there, how annoyed were you after the interview when somebody commented and brought up that you didn't ask me about that? What was your...
Look, these interviews usually go about an hour, right? And we had an amazing conversation for
Without
about,
it, yeah.
for about an hour that, time just flew by.
Yeah.
And then it ended, and I think we were like standing over by the door there, and I went, ah!
So you thought, okay, that's funny because I thought that comment had actually smartened you up to it. But I was the same way. I was like, oh shoot, that would have been great. But all right, anyways, not to prolong this anymore, but okay. So the story of my mom and the burning.
What, like 9 years ago?
I don't even think it was that long ago. I think we're talking 2016. Oh, I don't know. I'm bad with this. Maybe it was 2015.
Don't worry. We have all the world's information at our fingertips.
It's all a blur, but
I'll look it up here.
Okay, so this is how it starts.
Okay.
I'm at Gold's Gym. I'm going to tell this as fast as I can, but I don't want to limit.
We've got all day.
Well, we do have all day, but I don't want to limit the details, at least for your show, because that's what it's kind of all about here. Okay.
2013.
Oh my.
March
gosh.
19th, 2013. That's almost 10 years to the day.
Time flies, man.
Wow.
Time flies, kids. Just
Okay.
be aware. Okay. So I'm at Gold's Gym, which we both worked out at just not too long ago. And what happened? Shoot, I received a phone call from my mom's neighbor saying that something was going on at her apartment. She didn't know what, but something funny was up. So then I go to call my mom, and anytime I call my mom, I get a voicemail without fail. Like, it'll ring, but then it'll go to a voicemail. This particular time, it just kept ringing, which doesn't sound like much, but for me was a big red flag. Like, why is the answer machine not going? It always goes off. So I immediately hopped in my truck and I went from Venice to West LA. It's only about 10 minutes. Thank God I was in town, by the way. And I get there and it's an odd scene. I get there and my uncle, who was staying with my mom at the time, is locked out. That's all I see is him at the door. So I get out of the truck and I don't know what's going on. I'm like, what is going on? And I get to the door and, I don't even know what my uncle told me, but I start trying to make communication through the door and somebody starts speaking to me. It's a voice I don't recognize. And they are just speaking like I'm asking about my mom.
Yeah.
And this person is like talking crazy. They're like, she's my mom too now.
Whoa.
And, we're going to go, I don't even know what he said, something like we're going to go to heaven together. Like it was, it was
wow.
But here's the thing. So I realized it didn't take long for me to realize, oh, this guy's tripping on something. Like he's either tripping on meth or crack. Like this is not what comes out of even a crazy person's mouth. It just sounded too bizarre. So I had found out also too, another twist, this whole thing, that the cops were actually there and had left. So like, I don't know where the confusion was. Like they obviously didn't know she was locked in the house, but somehow they come by and not read the situation and left. So, okay. So I'm trying to figure out what to do, and I'm looking at the door and I'm thinking about kicking it down, obviously, because there's a madman in the house with my mom.
And the house isn't on fire yet.
No,
Okay.
no fire. No, I don't even know that it's barricaded.
You're just trying to get in.
Yeah, and he's not letting me in. And so like, your first instinct is like, fuck this guy's, I'm sure it doesn't matter. And I'm going to kick the door down.
Yeah.
Thank God I didn't. I had the smarts to know that, like, what if I don't get this door down? What if I can't get in? And then I escalate the situation. So, I took a breath. I walked out to the street so he couldn't hear me, and I called the police. And I told them, hey, I heard you guys were here. I need you to come back. I don't know what happened, but my mom is barricaded with a madman, and I'm about to kick the door down, and I need some help.
And does she doesn't know this guy at all?
Well, no, I don't know who it is initially, but it turns out he's actually staying with one of the other neighbors.
Oh, okay.
But like, this is a guy who's on the outs and he's a mess, I guess, apparently. I don't know. I wasn't around there at the time except for this instance. But so where were we? So I tell the cops, and then they come back. The cops are back now, and they form a perimeter, and they put me on the perimeter, right? And like, this whole time, man, this whole thing sucks. Like your mom is, and here's an important detail I left out. As I'm communicating with her him through the door, I hear my mom yell something about fire. She's like speaking in code, and I can tell that she's saying that he's threatening her to start a fire in there. So I already knew that much.
Yeah.
So, and that's why I didn't kick the door down, because she had said that, and it made me think he's going to start a fire, and I can't get the door down. Then I'm screwed. What do I do? Okay. So, anyways, now the cops come. They form a perimeter. I'm on that perimeter, and they start trying to communicate. Obviously, same thing. And then they start trying to get the door down. And again, this just kind of solidifies my position. They couldn't get the door down. They get the battering ram, like a cop bigger than me with boots on, because I had like athletic shoes too. He couldn't get the door down. He kicked it 3 times. Then they get the battering ram, and it takes about 3 to 4 tries to get the door down. This is because the door, first of all, is very sturdy, but it's also barricaded by a ton of shit. Like, just he took whatever he could and put it in front of the door and barricaded it. But hold on a second now. So while all this is happening, this is where it gets intense. Okay, they forced me on the perimeter, right? So I'm watching this all happen, and as they're trying to get this door down, in the corner window, I see a fire emanate.
Oh.
And so right at that moment is where everything starts for me. I'm like, oh, hell no. I spring into action, because I'm just like, I'm not staying. Like, because while all this is happening too, once they get the door down, like, actually, I'm going a little forward. Like, okay, so I see the fire. I come over there, and I grab the hose. And I think one of the cops breaks the window, and I stick the freaking hose through there. I don't even know what that was. That was probably the stupidest thing I did out of the whole exchange. But like, you see a fire and you're just trying to, like, it's the house, it's possessions. You're trying to, like, what can I do to preserve that?
Sure.
In addition to, more importantly, save her life. But okay, so now as this is happening, I stick the hose in there for whatever reason, and I come around the corner. They've gotten the door down with the battering ram, but like smoke comes burrowing out. So the fire had already been starting for like a little bit of time elapsed between these two, you know what I mean, as far as story. And I see all the cops back, like they take steps back, and this is my mom, so I'm completely irrational. I'm like thinking in my head, what are they doing? Like and then, like, why are they backing off? And again, we're talking about smoke burrowing, so they can't, they have no choice, but it's my mom. So I'm completely irrational. And that's when I realized this is the moment. Once the smoke came burrowing out, I realized she might die, and it's not even be from the fire. She's going to die from this smoke. And and that was the moment that it was real the whole time, but that was the moment where the adrenaline shot through the roof. And I just knew I have to save her right now. And so what I did is I knew exactly where her room was. She had 2 windows, and one of the windows was blocked by a tree. So I told the cop, break these windows, break these windows. She's in this room. Because again, they can't enter because of the smoke. And she breaks one, no sign of her. Now the other window is blocked by a tree. So I freaking grab the tree and I bear hug it, and I basically rip it to the ground. Like I go down with it. She breaks that window, nothing. All of a sudden my mom pops up. Like, it almost like, I don't know. It was just like, I don't even know what to compare it to. It was just, but it was like, for me, it was like, oh my God, thank God. And I got up. I scooped her out. I brought her about 50 feet from the scene. I made sure she was okay. And then the last bit to this story was, the next thing I know, I'm checking on her and I see them wrestling him out in front of the apartment. And I rush over there and I give, like, what I can only describe and what most people identify kind of as like almost an RKO punt to his head when there was an opening. So, and that was, that's pretty much the story, you know what
Wow.
I mean? And that's as detailed as I think I can get with it. I've had to tell that story a lot of times, but it's been a while. So, and this is also the perfect platform for it. So yeah, that's what happened, man. And this guy, he ended up going to jail for 4 years. I think he's out now, and I'm pretty sure, I'm assuming he was on meth or something. Like, I don't know. He was really, the behavior was just so odd.
I like that the exclamation point on the story is you have all this aggression, all this anger, and you punt him in the head.
Oh, well, it was there. Like, it was literally the only thing that was open, and the cops weren't even mad about it. It was when I tried to kick him again that they were like, yo, get the fuck out of here. Like, all right, that's enough.
You got your one in.
Yeah, like, well, seriously, because the next one I didn't play so well, and I actually kind of half caught one of the cops too. So like, get the hell out of here. You got your licking.
How did this story end up like making its way to the news? Like, how did they find out about it?
Wow. You know what? That's a really good question. I have no idea, honestly. It's not like, I don't think that was anything I did. I just know that, because it was maybe 2 days later that I was.
I remember seeing it on, I think it was yeah,
I was on Good Morning America.
yeah. Good Morning America.
TMZ.
TMZ had it.
Jay Leno made a little joke about it, saying something about, oh, it's finally steroids it was for a good thing. And yeah, it was pretty funny. But like, honestly, I don't know how it got the attention it did. And like, I don't feel like I kind of went out of my way to publicize it. I mean, I'm sure I said something on Twitter that night or whatever, but I'm not thinking that like, oh, this is going to catch.
Well, I'm sure there was a police report, and usually when there's something newsworthy, that gets like sent out, and then maybe they put 2 and 2 together of like, oh, Chris Mordesky, that's Chris Masters.
Maybe I don't know. All I know is, man, the story's kind of like an adrenaline rush. It's already got me like, I'm like sweating a little
Please
bit.
don't punt me in the face.
But like the standout moment once again though, like because people talked about like the adrenaline rush that you'd have to save your mom. Like again, once that smoke came burrowing out and the cops kind of had to back off, that was that moment right there, man. And like I just hope for everybody else's sake that you don't have to have that moment. But like I don't feel like anything I did was special, man. Like if it was anybody's mom and you love your mom, like you were going to have that same. I don't know if you'll be able to pull the tree out, but you're gonna at least try.
I think the most impressive part about this story is there's cops everywhere, and who saves the day? You.
Yeah, and it's nothing against them either, man. Like I think they did their job. It's just who's gonna do more than your son.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm glad you brought that up because that's also what I realized in that moment. Not because they couldn't advance because of the smoke, although like again, I'm irrational. I'm like, get in there. Who cares about the smoke?
Mom.
Yeah. But like I don't even know what was the.
I don't know. I just think the point of it, like they could have been like, "Hey, stand back, sir. We've got this."
But I would have never accepted it. Again, like like anybody would have done the same thing for their mom. I just don't know if they would have been able to rip the tree out of the ground. So like,
how's Mama Masters doing now?
Unfortunately, and I think I told you this. Yeah, she had to have a hospital stay for a few days, but she's actually back at home now, doing better.
Oh, great.
Resting. Yeah, she's hardcore. She's a badass. You know what I mean? Like I think she might outlast me.